And we're live.
All right. Oh, there we are. Look at this. Now I'm going to try to figure out how to share it from the computer, not my phone.
Oh, that's a
This
more
is-
difficult venture.
It's an extremely difficult venture. I am not the tech guy. Oh, there we are. There we are.
There you
All
go.
right,
See,
now watch.
there's that share button. Yeah.
Yeah, let me see. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share it.
Yeah.
I want more options.
Okay.
Nope. I want
Nope.
less options. Share to a group, share to a page. Nope. I want less options.
Share via, maybe down there on the bottom.
No.
I don't know.
Share via. Nope.
Oh,
Twitter.
Just kidding.
Not there. Although I've reactivated my Twitter account, but that is
Yeah,
not conducive for.
I keep hearing that, but I'm not on Twitter. I barely want to be on Facebook. So,
What do you hate most about social media?
I think the thing I like most about social media is I feel like it keeps you connected to long distance family. The thing I dislike about social media is the constant complaints and like I feel like everybody feels like they have to share their opinion, and it makes me think of that verse, open your mouth and make sure you're full, or yeah, something along those lines. But yeah, it's just one of those things that it's not for me.
I figured it out. If you keep hitting enough buttons. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. If it wasn't for a work tool,
Absolutely.
I don't feel like I would use social media anymore. I got burnt out on it this year, and
Yes.
I'm kind of like, meh. I am, however, looking at YouTube because Lynn sent us that year in review for
Yep.
YouTube, and YouTube to me is a place that's not as aggressive and opinionated, and
Oh, yeah.
But I get Twitter alerts now that I signed up for Twitter. I get Twitter alerts, and I just see some of the tweets, but as soon as I see them, it creates an emotion, and I want to fire back off.
Well, of
and
course.
that's not healthy for me. So,
No, it's not healthy.
well, I have told some of our elders that I'm going to try to not inflame the social media world, and I've done that this year. I can't guarantee 2023.
Oh,
but
sure.
I've got 15 more days to.
To
be the-
is it a,
and I
today's the
feel it.
14th.
Today's
so,
the 14th. How many days?
and
are
it's
there?
the 30. You got to till the 31st. So
Uh,
that's be 17.
17 more days to be the calm, collected.
Calm.
January
January 1st, new
January
you.
1st. I've fulfilled my contract.
And as they watch this later, they're all going to be very nervous.
Yeah, they are. But
know.
anyway, I got some Christmas questions for you. I'm going to open us up.
Okay.
So, I have some Christmas questions. You rapid fired me last week,
Oh, okay.
so I'm going to rapid fire you.
Gotcha.
But I would like explanation behind it.
Oh, okay.
What is your favorite, or in your opinion, the best Christmas snack? Not food, so not like a dinner, but you get all the snacky stuff around Christmas. What is the best Christmas snack? out there?
The candy cane full of Reese's peanut butter cups.
Ah, so like the stocking with
Yeah,
the candy cane?
everybody
Yeah.
gets the candy cane in your stocking. I look forward most to either the Reese's peanut butter cup. Reese's Pieces would come in a close second.
I like Reese's Pieces. I
Yeah.
like Reese's
Yeah.
Pieces better than Reese's peanut butter cups.
I mean, look, if you get like the best peanut butter cup is when they come out with the trees
Oh yeah.
or the footballs. Like
The
those
footballs.
are the two best
Yeah.
ones. And so if you get a stocking with the trees in it, and you're set up and somebody really loves you.
Okay. I believe that the best Christmas snack is the zebra cake Christmas tree.
That is good. That would be up there. I wouldn't mind some Little Debbie's in my stocking.
I-
I'm an
I-
oatmeal cream pie guy.
Oatmeal cream pie,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, that's my favorite Little Debbie.
Well, that's kind of like breakfast because you get oatmeal, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
So that is all right. Question number 2.
Okay.
Before we try to spin off into something more serious, I wrote these down yesterday. What is your favorite character or part of the Christmas story in Scripture?
Favorite character or part?
And why?
I like the angels coming to the shepherds and singing.
Interesting.
Like, I think
I wouldn't have pegged that.
Right. What? Like, that was always. I like that part because it's like they get. How do you not believe if you get to see that?
What would you do if an angel came to your house in your backyard and started singing to you?
Probably shoot at it, but
It'd be like an alien has come.
like, but I don't know. I feel like, what would I do? Ugh, yeah, I don't know what I would do. I feel like I would be frightened. Yeah, I don't. I'd like to give the Christian response and be like, oh, I'd bow down in reverence, but I don't know if that's true.
I think I've always wondered, because my favorite part, and I'm actually talking about it this week, is the shepherds. I like the shepherd part of it.
Sure.
Only because it's, of all the people in the world, they could have announced it to.
Right.
They picked the lowliest.
Sure.
In the pecking order. They didn't go to the temples. They didn't go to the Pharisees or the Sadducees or the emperor or the presidents or congressman or.
There was a party out trying to murder him before he was born. So
yeah, I mean they were trying to kill him.
Yeah.
So, but I think that I think that the shepherd part. But I was thinking the other day, if a host of angels
yes
just appeared and started singing, I'm pretty sure it would terrify.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Anybody. So I've always wondered, shepherds out there, middle of the night, minding their own business. Sheep are probably asleep. And then all of a sudden this happens. You'd be like, whoa.
Yeah, I'd be a little perplexed, to say the least.
So of all the non-biblical Christmas stories, who would be your favorite character? As an example, you've got your Rudolphs and your Frosties. So like as a kid growing up, who was always your favorite kind of story time?
Favorite story time. I've always been a fan of The Grinch. Like,
sounds about right.
Like, I enjoy watching his heart grow 2 times as big and things like that. And so I've always enjoyed the Grinch, but I like the 1960s version. Not, the newer ones are okay, but yeah, I prefer the 25-minute.
The original old school
yes.
Grinch.
Like, I like those. Same with, like, Frosty.
The old Frosty.
Mm-hmm, the old Frosty.
I miss, and I don't know that my kids would even know who I'm talking about, but Charlie Brown Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
With the little tree.
Yeah.
That was really called the Charlie Brown tree.
I have a Charlie Brown tree.
You have a Charlie Brown tree?
It's one of my favorite trees.
Ah.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite story or movie,
No.
but I do like the Charlie Brown. I miss that. I think that was just that good kind of awe-inspiring.
Yeah, it was very wholesome, and I don't think you ever had to worry about what your kids were going to watch.
Correct.
And that's
that
a
is
plus.
True. And I even feel like in cartoon world now. So I was watching.
Oh, sure.
My wife, does puzzles. And,
Mine too.
I can't. Oh
can't
my gosh!
stand it.
I can't even look at puzzle pieces. It makes no sense to me.
I don't know. I don't know where the joy is found in that.
I don't know how out of 1,500 pieces you can find the one piece that fits in the one slot. But she'll do it and do it rather quickly. But she'll sit there for a couple hours, and that's her way to relax. And while she's relaxing doing the puzzle, she is watching the Hallmark Christmas
Worst
crap.
Yes.
And but I'll tell you, this year I've been kind of watching it, and you got to even monitor that. These days because of the social dynamics and the politics of it.
Candace Cameron
Burke,
one of those. Yeah. She, went out and spoke in favor of traditional marriage, and now she has her GAC, but I don't know what it stands for, but they have the same Hallmark-esque movies, but they support traditional marriage, not.
It's like even politics is bled into Christmas.
It's kind of annoying that you have to call it traditional, but I guess.
It's like marriage. It's normal marriage. Anyway, but you want to know what my favorite Christmas character is?
Who's that?
Happy Feet Penguins. Have you ever watched the
Oh, sure.
the Christmassy penguin one?
Never cared for Happy Feet. The girls love it.
Well,
but
it's
I never liked Happy Feet.
He's like the cartoon version of Seinfeld.
Sure.
You don't have to think about it. It's just happy. I
He's
think that's what Christmas ought to be. Just happy.
Just happy.
Just happy. Why can't everybody get along?
I mean, they do, for the most part. for
Happy,
Christmas.
happy. All right, last question.
Okay.
We've rapid fired. I got the last question. We just got done with the church's largest event of the year.
Yep.
Roughly 800 people walked in our door. Phenomenal story, great food, all the bells and whistles of Christmas Coffee House, which you and I have been doing for
Sure.
10 years maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Been a part of it since back in the Missouri days, so probably 15 years. Like I asked my mom, she's been
Yeah.
doing it for, I don't know,
knows?
30
Long
years,
time.
40 years.
Sure.
I mean, Santa Claus was a teenager when they started Coffee House up in Missouri. But what was your favorite part
Of this
of this coffee
Of this
house?
coffee
Yeah, not
house?
of Coffee House, but of this one specifically.
I think the part that I will forever remember is white bikini and banana boat. That's how you keep your marriage together.
That is
A
we
white
were
bikini
given-
and banana boat, and I went. Yeah, I cracked up and thought, what it gave you a glimpse into Bob as his true self.
Yeah, and as Bob, I would have loved to see Bob Hell as a teenager in high school.
Yeah.
That would be fun. I often find it amusing to think about. Like even my parents, you get that older generation. What were they like? Because we see them as these,
They didn't have social media to
they
follow
didn't
them
have
around.
social media. They were riding around in the back of pickup trucks and no seat belts. And my kid got in trouble the other day because he had some boys in the back of his pickup truck.
And they didn't have seatbelts. I remember
In the back of the truck? No, they didn't have seatbelts.
I remember riding on a phone book as like the
as the booster seat.
as the
Yeah.
booster seat.
I remember crawling in the back window and taking a nap in the car.
Oh yeah.
We had one of those old Delta 88s that you could fit at least 12 bodies in the trunk.
Sure.
But it had the big, huge back windshields, and I could crawl up in there
Yeah.
and take a nap. But, yeah, my son got in trouble, and rightfully so. I mean, he was doing something
Well,
wrong.
he's a young kid, and
But I also rolled my eyes because I'm like, he pulled through the car rider line to pick up my daughter,
yeah,
and there were too many kids because it's basketball season. So
Sure.
after the game, they were going to go over to the store and grab whatever they're going to eat over there and hang out at Cassie's until game time. But there were so many kids in there, so a few of them jumped in the back, and they rolled through the car rider line, kids in the back of the truck, and they were like,
they were in the bed of the truck.
They were in the back, yeah, not in the back seat.
Gotcha.
We
Okay.
have a back seat of the truck with the quad cab, but no, they were in the bed of the
Yeah.
truck.
Well, I mean,
And when they told me they got in trouble, that's one of those as a dad that I was like,
roll your eyes at.
roll my eyes,
Sure.
but like you shouldn't do that,
That's
But I mean,
that's one of Quinn's first questions anytime we're in the truck is, can I ride in the bed?
Mhm.
And so when we pull into the neighborhood, I'll pull over and I'll stop, and it's 100 feet to our house, 200 feet to our house, and she'll hop out, close the door, hop in the back, and then she'll ride. But that's what she wants to do, and so she just enjoys it. Sometimes, and it's probably not good to say, but sometimes she teen woofs it and like stands
Oh,
up.
yeah,
and,
stands up and surfs.
and,
You got to
yeah,
surf
and
in the
I
bed
go,
of the
that's
truck.
what I go slow.
Yeah, how we survived, with all those
Oh, yeah.
unruly,
Sure.
dangerous, like the riding in the bed of the truck and having no seatbelt, which I don't condone not wearing seatbelts. I think it's great. But I think the most dangerous thing for me as a child was the bike pedals. I had an old Huffy bike that had the teeth pedals.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, if your foot slipped off of it, it ripped the skin off of your shin.
Yeah, I remember. Yep.
But like even rolling yards around Halloween, and I see Christy on here. We would up in Etowah County. My mom would be the getaway driver, and we'd all go roll yards
Sure.
of
I mean, at some
the
point,
pastors and youth pastors and all of that. But dude, we'd be diving in trucks and
So
riding in the bed. And
you're
it's
saying
crazy.
you used to enjoy Halloween.
No, I never said that.
Okay.
Halloween's always
Yeah.
way to trap me.
I'm just wondering.
Hey, I
had
sat
some
with you
questions.
and you shot potato guns at kids. It was great. I enjoyed it. I just, it's, yeah.
Well, I did have some questions for you too.
Okay. Did you ever answer my question about what's your favorite part? Oh, you did with
yeah.
Bob's statement?
Yeah, Bob's statement.
Marriage
that was
advice?
by far
Yeah.
the funniest, and I went. I think it's very practical advice that I feel like I should follow in my own life. So, kudos to Bob for great marriage advice. The question I do have for you is, I guess we can start with the coffee house one since we're on that, but did you feel like Christmas Coffee House was successful?
Absolutely. I sent out a 1.5 mile long email this morning. But I think, in my opinion, this was the most successful coffee house we've had. I said the other day top 3, but the more I evaluate it, the more I believe this was probably the most successful one. And probably not for the reasons. I mean, yay, 800-ish people came in,
Sure.
Whatever. The food was amazing as always. Yep. The decorations were probably the best I've seen, and I love the team that did that. But the reason I thought this year was the most successful is for 2 reasons. One is the spirit of the people in there, from the teams and the volunteers. I didn't hear, and I mean, you know, coffee house. It can be chaotic.
Oh,
it's 800 people are coming in. You've rearranged the entire sanctuary. Yep. You're doing something totally out of the norm, you know, for a Sunday morning, and there's always a time crunch of some kind, whether
Absolutely.
it's with the coffee or the food and all of that. But in all of that chaos, and I got here, I was here, we get here at Chicken 30 that morning, but I saw the kitchen team, and I got to interact with them. And then even during the week with the Morning Manna ladies decorating. And, dude, there could have been so many reasons. Like, I got frustrated.
Sure.
Because there were things that went missing, and,
Sure.
Plugs weren't working, and toilets were jacked up, and,
Yes.
all of these things. So you're trying to create this environment. But one of the things I noticed that I thought made it the best one we've ever had was the spirit of the people who were at Coffee House, the workers and the volunteers. Sure. It was just a totally different vibe this year. I didn't hear one complaint. I didn't hear one negative statement. As a matter of fact, every single team I walked in on, I think I walked in on all of them, kids, production, set up during the week, food, kitchen, all of them. When I walked in, they were laughing, and they were smiling, and they were joking around with each other. And it was just, you could tell that the spirit was about, I think people get why we do what we do now, because
I agree with that.
All of those things are great. But it's not about the food. It's not about decorations. It's not about the songs. It's not about production. It's about pointing people to Jesus. And I think that the attitude of the people pointed people to Jesus.
Absolutely.
I saw a lot of new faces in there serving with them.
Agreed.
Like Sega Service, I look over and the Kingdom Home guys, man, they're running food out there, and they all got a big smile, and there's people just jumping in, and it's not this. It felt good. It felt good, and I think this year. It all came together in that aspect, which is one of the reasons why I think it was great. The second reason I think it was great is the amount of stories I've heard from people who invited somebody that came.
That's good.
It's oh man, I got my neighbor to come, and they had a blast, and they said it was nothing like church they'd ever seen, and they wanted to come back. Those kind of comments, because like I said, the goal is to invite people who aren't currently in a church. I'm not trying to church gank other members. I believe that everybody went out. You said it a couple of weeks before the event. You said it. I think everybody's got it this year of you're supposed to go and invite people.
I do believe that.
And I think people did. I think that they thought of somebody, whether it was a neighbor or a coworker or a family member. I heard a lot of stories of family members who came in, and they were like, man, They finally walked into the church. They finally came into a church. And I didn't even have to ask, well, did they enjoy it? Almost every one of them that were like my neighbor, my cousin, my brother, whoever it was they invited, followed it up with, man, and they loved it. Yeah. And, you know, the story resonated. Bob and Nancy's story resonated because every single person's been in a valley, whether it's grief or marriage or kids or, you know, pick your valley.
Sure.
But everybody has. And if you haven't, you're going to. And so for them to get up there, and I put this in my email, I know what it's like to, because our tagline of the Word Community Church, fun, authentic, relevant, right? It was obviously relevant to everybody. But it's authentic, and there is a massive vulnerability of laying your heart out there for people, especially in today's culture and in today's world, and for them to get up there and just lay it all out there for people to grab hold of was just phenomenal for me. So for me, it was the teams and the spirit of the people. I believe the Holy Spirit was all over the place throughout the whole week and radiating through everybody. And then the amount of people who walked out, because my goal is for them to walk out of a coffee house, the ones who aren't in church or have been burned by church or don't like church people or don't like pastors or, you know, for them to walk out and go, God's not as bad as I thought he was and church isn't as bad as I thought it was, so I'll be back.
Right.
And this week's going to be another fun one.
Maybe they can come give it a try.
Give it a try, you know. And I found it, one of my son's friends is like, man, can we go back to that church? And I'm like, dude, you're going to get back to back. I feel like that I'm setting ourselves up for failure on a normal Sunday because you got coffee house, and this week got kids' Christmas, tacky sweaters. My tagline for Tacky Sweater Christmas is don't tell anybody, but you can have fun in church. God doesn't give a rip what you wear. But, you know, whatever, I get. But we have people that have fun. Hey, see, I'm not going to get on soapbox. I'm going to stay positive this year.
You did.
I do feel like, though, that I am a trendsetter.
A trendsetter?
I do. I have validated my flamingo.
Oh, well.
Don't all me. Dude, the Chamber of Commerce of Northport is putting flamingos in yards of people who win whatever it is they're putting the flamingo in the yard for.
Sure.
Yeah. I was a trendsetter.
You before your time.
It was just before my time. I feel like
I guess you could say you're just of the world.
Shut up. But it is. I think Kids Christmas is a fun time. We get to see the kids, and you know all the grandparents and parents are going to be here this week.
Anytime you put kids on stage, it's a positive for a church.
I'm going to be honest with you. My favorite part of Kids Christmas is not how cute they are. It's the one or two up there that do something that makes their parents go, oh. Oh, that's my, you know.
They're going to get out for lunch and get yelled at.
I mean, I was that kid. I can't imagine
Somehow
what
I'm
my
not
parents
surprised.
thought in congregation when I was up there because we had choir, grew up Baptist, so we always did this huge Christmas cantatas and these big Easter plays and all of that, which I do miss some of that. But I was the kid who got up. They never gave me the singing parts.
Right. You were always the tree.
Oh, I thought I was going to be a Hollywood star.
Oh, yeah.
Because they always gave me the drama speaking parts. And like I remember I'd dress up as a snail once and sing Have Patience. Don't be in such a hurry.
That's
when
impressive.
you get impatient, you only start to worry. I mean, I can still sing the song. It's very traumatic for me.
And now you don't live by that.
Oh, I've got patience. I got patience a mile long.
Yeah, that would be the spiritual gift I would describe for you.
You don't feel like patience is my gifting?
I don't.
I feel like everybody else in the world should speed up.
Well, that's one way to look at patience. I don't feel like
if
patience.
If everybody was going my speed, I would be perceived as having patience.
But patience isn't a speed issue.
I believe it is.
No, I don't think so.
See, it's all about perception.
I guess we have a question for next week. All right. Favorite Christmas tradition?
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
I don't really have one. I don't have one.
Sure.
I think I'll tell you one that I never liked.
Okay.
But I think looking back on it now, so Cassie and I, and if her parents are watching, they're gonna laugh. I don't think I've ever told them this. So
So we could say you're going to hear it here first.
Yeah, you're going to hear it here first. So they had this tradition. So understand when Cassie and I met, I was coming out the middle. I was still a little rough. I wasn't as polished and as holy as I am now. But
You're just starting your Pharisee journey.
but they used to do this thing, and the reason this comes to mind is I was just having this conversation 2 weeks ago with Mr. Freddie and Miss Cecilia over in the room, because she brought a baby Jesus into the prayer room. And I told him, I said, I used to roll my eyes. But back in the day, when we would go up to Iowa, they had this tradition. They have these little nativity scenes, and there was this ceramic baby Jesus. And before you could open gifts, they would hide baby Jesus, and it'd be like in a cave, kind of like a barn,
Sure.
all of that. And I used to roll my eyes at that. I'm like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But looking back on it, I go, we live in a consumeristic world of Elf on the Shelves and all of that. And I think as I've gotten older, and probably a little more cynical towards holidays,
Sure.
that I think we miss out on that, which is why we're doing the Christmas Day service thing online. How many people still Christmas morning get up and read the Christmas story and take time to, but I guess tradition-wise, I don't think we really have one. Cassie makes cinnamon rolls. She does. She makes two kinds. She makes cinnamon rolls, and then she makes these orange cinnamon rolls, which are not of God. I don't know.
No, you don't like the orange?
Who thought of that? Who thought, let's throw some orange marmalade on a cinnamon roll? And
sounds delicious to me.
I know. Kids like it too.
I think the orange is okay. I'm not a big cinnamon roll guy. Like, I don't know. It's just not. I'm more, breakfast-wise, I prefer something savory over something sweet.
That's the way I am. I prefer bacon and sausage over,
Sure.
pastries for breakfast. Like, when I look at hotels,
Yeah, that's what I think.
when I see continental breakfast, I'm like, no, I want the breakfast bar.
Right.
That's at least got the hot eggs and marginally cooked bacon and
When you're in Texas, if you can make Texas waffles,
Texas waffles.
you're in the right spot.
You are. This morning we made 14 waffles before 7:15 a.m. That's what I was doing this morning. What were you doing?
I walked my kid to school, and then I went and taught Bible at the Word Academy.
I was in the Bunt sweatshop making Belgian waffles. But I loved it. To your statement, they do Walker Warriors out there, and I love that they invest in the kids. And you still got a little God in school, but the teacher, Miss Manis, was making
it's
waffles.
Big God. It's not little God. It's big God. He's in school.
Shut up.
I'm just saying, little G, we don't pay attention to.
No, big God. But they, Miss McManus was making waffles for her Walker Warrior leadership team. Like, they got 200 or 300 kids that show up to that thing. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, your daughter talks about it in 5-6 and how their goal is to get all the kids to come in school, and they have progressively moved from, like 40 kids to now they're at 200, and they're making their way.
They're making their way. What would the church look like if we had the childlike faith of hey, I'm just going to go reach them. I'm going to go invite them.
I'm just going to go say, hey,
Crazy.
You should come.
Hey, I want you to come to church. Number one reason people don't come to church?
Don't get invited.
Don't get invited.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think Belgian waffles are from God. But I like the Texas ones, which we call the Texas. They got peaches and blackberries on them.
Sure.
But it's the amount of whipped cream.
See, I'm not a big whipped cream guy.
What?
Yeah, I think whipped cream's okay.
Would you rather have whipped cream or Cool Whip?
I think Cool Whip.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'd rather have Cool Whip.
But Cool Whip doesn't, like you can't circle Cool Whip.
That's true.
I feel like
That's
I can
true.
make more of a pile.
You have to dollop Cool Whip.
Yeah. I don't let when I'm working with Cassie, I don't let her decorate the waffles because she doesn't have the right swirl, and there's a heap size of whipped cream that you need to make it. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So.
Last question I have for you. I guess it's going to be a hard one for you to answer. One tradition you'd like to see your kids continue?
Tacos.
On, was that
Christmas Eve?
Christmas Eve tacos.
Christmas Eve tacos. I don't. I think it's different, and I think that I would love to see my kid. Honestly, tradition for me that I would love to see my kids continue would be going to a Christmas Eve service,
Sure.
a candlelight service. I think if you ask me my favorite tradition, and it's not even a churchy answer, I just think there's something about singing Silent Night with the little candlelight and taking a minute of, I think for me, when I'm in that service, I literally almost tune out everybody but my family, and it makes me smile when I see my family sitting together and doing that part of it. It's probably my church-wise, my favorite part of December is the candlelight service. But I think for me, long term, if they would continue to go to that, at whatever church they're
Sure.
at, I don't know that any of them will go into the ministry, but I think that if they
I feel like you
continue
have
that-
one that'll go in.
Oh yeah, which one?
Yeah, your youngest.
Nah,
I think.
I think she's gonna be a teacher.
Yeah, I think she'll be in ministry.
Yeah,
I don't know doing what, but
yeah, taking over the church
something.
as a Viking.
Just needs a shield.
Right. But yeah, she. I think for me it would be the Christmas Eve service is one
Yeah.
I would continue.
Claire gets mad at me at the Christmas Eve service because, anytime you put a candle, like, you got to play with the flame.
Oh yeah,
And so,
she's
and I always just do, things like that. And then Quinn will start doing it, but she's not quite fast enough or doesn't get it. So, if I'm holding it and I'll go, whoop, whoop. And then Quinn will go and she'll go, oh wait. It's
yeah,
her.
yep, there it
And I
is.
just go, and she's like, quit burning our kids. And I'm like,
Teaching your kids to play fire. Well, what's yours? What is your favorite Christmas tradition?
I would say my favorite tradition, and it didn't come about until Claire and I got together. But her family on Christmas Eve, her grandfather reads the night before Christmas. Like all the family gathers,
Yeah.
he reads night before Christmas, and then all the kids open one gift.
See, my parents did that. You got to open one gift on
Yeah.
Christmas Eve.
And that was always, it was just, I always enjoyed it. And it was one of those things. We would go to a Christmas Eve service, and then we would go back, and then we would do the whole ceremony tradition. I don't know what you want to call it, but
Sure.
it was enjoyable for me, and it was one of those times that I always went. I think as an in-law, sometimes you don't always feel welcome into the family, and that was one of those times I always felt welcomed.
I will say I always felt welcomed as the in-law.
Yeah.
Especially around Christmas, because they always had this big, huge Christmas.
Yeah.
And we don't have a massively large family, but I'll be honest with you, I kind of liked it. We meet at the Western Sizzling, swap
Yep.
gift cards, and roll on.
And call it a day.
Yeah, but it was more of, you spend time with your immediate family. But watching Cassie's family, there's about 4,000 of them that
Sure.
show up at the grandparents' house, and it was always fun to watch. And Christmas Day, they would come back, it would be cards. Everybody would play cards. We'd play hearts or spades or
Sure.
rook or something like that. But it was soup and sandwiches.
Ugh.
Yeah, and I'm not a big soup guy. I think outside of gumbo,
Sure.
I don't think soup.
I like split pea soup.
That's like somebody puked in a bowl.
It's delicious.
But I'm not a soup guy. I just it's a means to an end. Tomato soup, so I can dip my grilled cheese in it.
Right.
But I don't eat it. Egg drop soup, so I can dip my egg roll in it.
Sure.
I don't eat it. But I like chili. I like gumbo. But they would always have all these soups, like this potato soup and that split
Yep.
pea crap and cabbage soup, and it's
Cabbage
it's Iowa.
cabbage soup.
Yeah, I know. Like tortilla soup.
Yeah.
They would have all the, and then they would have these sandwiches, and it was pimento cheese.
I mean, I'm a big fan of pimento cheese. I
Yeah,
like
so's my wife, and I've started going to Chicken Salad Chick because
Yep.
they got 2 wads of cat puke in a bowl, also known as pimento cheese. I can't stand it.
Full Moon Barbecue has a really great pimento cheese.
Do they?
Yeah.
They also did this. It was like chopped bologna. So if you can imagine pimento cheese, but it had like bologna, and I love bologna. Like
Yeah.
I'm a bologna guy, and I could not. It's just weird. It's like
It's also, that's one of those things about, I like to smoke meats, and that's always one that I go, I want to get the big round thing of bologna, you slice it and
Yeah.
or you score it and then you smoke it. And I just go, I think it would be delicious, but Claire hates bologna, so
I
it's
love
just not
bologna.
one of those things.
Cassie will roll her eyes, and it's not all the time, but every now and then I just want, and I like thick bologna.
Sure.
I want a thick bologna.
You want the bologna, you got to like tear the edge off of.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and it's thick, and you put a slice of cheese, and I
Sure.
melt it. So I'll throw it in the microwave, but then I'll put a slice of onion on it,
Oh, yeah.
sweet onion, like Vidalia onion, and but I'll eat me a bologna and cheese and onion sandwich. And if there's bacon around, you put that on
Oh,
it,
yeah.
and it's just all the better. But yeah, or at breakfast you take bologna, you don't slice the edges, but you make it cup.
Yep.
And you crack an egg in the middle, and you've got a bologna bowl. It's great. Put some shredded
Sure.
cheese on it. Yeah, that's-
I mean, bologna's.
my
it's one
bologna
of those-
has many names,
Yeah, I
more
think
than
it's-
OSCAR, but I like it.
Yeah, I don't. I like bologna. It'd be one of those. It's not going to be my first choice, but I'm not upset that it's around.
I'm not upset that it's right. That's good.
You know.
That's a good comment.
Like,
So we went from Christmas. I want to switch gears a little bit because I'm the politics guy.
okay.
All right. So the United States
Yep.
just traded
Yep.
the biggest arms dealer in the world. Like there's a
Sure.
movie. Have you ever seen the Nicolas Cage movie Lords of War?
Yep.
Like bad dude.
Yep.
Like he single-handedly took part in killing billions of people.
Sure.
Through all the different wars from Rwanda to the Taliban to
Well,
some of the most evil.
He wasn't. He didn't discriminate
No.
against anybody.
He'd sell any weapon to
Sure.
anybody for any reason.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of bad guys, he would rank like up there with your cartel leaders
Sure.
like El Chapo and all those.
Sure.
I mean, like he's a bad dude. So we traded that guy
Yep.
for a basketball player.
Yep.
What do you think about that? You think that's a good trade, bad trade? In the grand scheme of fantasy sports trades, would you consider that a good trade or a bad trade?
Like, I think politically it's a terrible trade. I think humanely it's probably a positive trade because
Well, sure. Brittany Garner has a family.
at the end of the day, even if you hate America, that's the perks of being American. You know, we should rescue Americans
Yep.
when we can.
No man or woman left behind.
Correct. And so I go from that perspective, like, we did what we had to do, but it does make me feel a little bit like you're negotiating with terrorists, and that's been
Which
a
we
lot.
claim not to do.
Right. And you just go, I don't know.
I think it puts American lives in danger.
Well-
I would be very leery of traveling right now as an American.
You wonder, and you go, he's been away for so long. Does he still have contacts and the gusto and the things behind it to continue to do what he did, or is he going to show up and kind of be forgotten about and just go, you're a guy, you're a has-been, not a, I wonder those things and going, maybe it is a positive trade because he doesn't have any of those relationships or
I would have
any of
said
those
that
things
except
you
for
go.
the Taliban that we let out of Gitmo that went right back to the battlefield, and they're now
Well,
some
sure.
of the top leaders in the Taliban 20 years later. I think he can
It's a fair point.
remake those contacts. He's going to be in Russia. He's about to help with those contacts fund a Russian war that we are
part of.
shadow
Sure.
battling. Right. So at some point, it's going to put American lives in danger. I'm with you. I don't have anything against the basketball player. I obviously don't know her. And she does have a family, and I'm sure they're excited to get home.
Absolutely.
I just feel like that wasn't a fair trade,
Sure.
so to speak, because we have a Marine
Sure.
veteran that's left over there, and I don't see how we could have not gotten.
Didn't we also get a spy along with her that we don't?
I don't think so. It's a 1-for-1.
I don't. I'd have to look at it
The
again.
Marine was arrested as a spy, and to Brittany's credit, I'm really kind of shocked that Russia did it, because that'd be like in the WNBA arresting LeBron James. Like, she's a big name WNBA star, and she was over in Russia playing, and for what they busted her for,
Yeah.
I go 10 years in a penal colony for having a vape, basically,
Sure.
had some weed in it.
Yep.
And so my concern is that they arrested her to make her a political
Well, sure.
pawn. And the 10 years in a Russian penal colony for that's a little bit, I think they put her there to accelerate the trade, you know.
Yeah.
My
I
frustration is we left a Marine over there.
Sure. Yeah, I don't have anything positive to say about the trade, but I mean, I feel like I get, again, I gotta think positive from the aspect of you're bringing an American home, negative from the aspect of going, why we would facilitate it in the way we did.
These are the times that I miss a Ronald Reagan.
Sure.
When Iran took those hostages, he didn't blow up their home. He blew up their family's home.
Right.
He gave them 24 hours and said, you don't give them back.
We're coming.
And we're coming. And he did. And you know what it stopped? Them kidnapping
Sure.
people. And I think this trade might have shown some weakness.
Sure.
And has put kidnapping at the top of
Well,
some
now you
list
start to
of
go from a kidnapping perspective that you could, the negotiation is potentially there now.
I think so too.
But, yeah. I don't know.
Is Tom Brady done? Or is he just having a bad
Would
marital
he-
spat that affected his
Well,
football?
I mean, he's divorced now, so.
And it's still got to be hard on him.
Oh, absolutely.
She bought a house right beside him.
I would think that, I wouldn't say he's done, but I think he's starting to show some age.
I think this is the first year he became human.
He's not a guy that I look at and I go, he can cover up deficiencies anymore, and you just go, they have some deficiencies in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, big time. I was kind of watching to see if he'd go to San Francisco.
Yeah, get traded.
Yeah, but
Yep.
you know what? Do you know anything about the quarterback that's starting in San Francisco?
Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant.
Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah.
Mr. Irrelevant, the last person drafted, and
Yeah.
the average percentage chance of them ever actually playing outside of a
Oh, yeah.
kicker is slim to none.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's starting
Starting.
quarterback on a team that could very easily go to the Super Bowl.
I don't know about easily, but yeah, they're in the running.
Yeah, they are in the top.
They're a team that has a lot of weapons around them, and you got Christian McCaffrey coming out of the backfield. The defense looks good,
And they're in the NFC, correct?
and they're in the NFC.
Which is far better than the AFC this year, if you're trying to get to the
you know,
Super Bowl.
AFC, you got Kansas City and Buffalo.
Yep.
And then you're kind of like, I don't know.
NFC, you got Dallas and Philadelphia.
You got Dallas, Philadelphia, San Francisco. They're all, I mean,
None of the rest are really. I mean,
well, they're all starting. It's all looking good. Unfortunately for the NFC, you also got Tampa Bay that's looking like they can be under 500 and making it in. So,
Mike Leach.
yep.
I watched Mike Leach at Texas Tech. When I was moving to Texas, I actually made it. We were moving to Steel Creek, and I made our start day January the 3rd so that I could go to the Cotton Bowl with Cassie. It was her first Alabama game, I believe, and they were playing Texas Tech and Mike Leach in the air raid.
Oh, yeah.
And we ended up winning. We weren't. I mean, that's when we were excited to get to the Cotton Bowl before we got spoiled. And everybody thinks we ought to win the national championship every year. But we went to the Cotton Bowl, and I remember watching that game. And the first play was a trick play. We scored a touchdown and never looked back, so we beat them that year. But I remember Mike Leach. He reinvented offense. I mean, college football is today what it is because of Mike Leach.
Yeah, he kind
Air
of
raid.
the air raid. Well, and you saw it at Texas Tech for many years, even after he left, and you just went. Texas Tech was known for putting up points.
Mm.
But
I want to ask you a question.
I enjoyed watching his kooky interviews.
Oh, he was funny in the
Like,
interview.
he was funny. And even I watched one yesterday of him giving wedding advice. and I was like,
Just off the wall. I enjoy SEC coaches now because you
Sure.
look at the ones, you got Mike Leach doing that. You never know what's going to come out of Lane Kiffin's mouth,
Oh,
who
no.
I'm projecting and calling is going to be the next Alabama coach.
think so?
I do. I think he didn't take the Auburn job or the other ones because he's waiting for Alabama.
He's holding out.
He's holding out. He's waiting for Alabama. He's the coach in waiting.
You
And
don't
I think he'd be great.
You don't think the coach in waiting is on the team right now?
No.
Bill O'Brien?
Oh my gosh! Don't talk to me.
I'm just
anymore.
saying he somehow gets head coach jobs.
He does. Maybe he'll be the next Sam Houston head coach.
Well, KC Keeler, man, he's been doing great for us. We're about to move into
I'm kind of shocked he
FBS
hadn't
football.
got snagged
I'm a
by
little-
a Power 5 team.
I'm a little surprised that he hasn't been on the radar for more, but we'll see.
He will when they move into the new conference.
He will.
So I got a question. Yesterday in the state of Alabama,
Yep.
I'm going to ask you a personal question, and Claire's going to love it because we're about to talk about it.
That's the one question she always asks me, or the one request she always makes is, can you not talk about me on your podcast? And every time I just tell her no.
Okay, well, good. At least you set the standard and let her know that we're going to
Just
talk.
let her know.
I want to, before I ask you this question, give a huge shout out to Tuscaloosa County Sheriff's Department,
Oh, sure.
Tuscaloosa City Police Department, and all of the other law enforcement officers that respond, Northport PD, to county, and to all of those that responded yesterday when the absolute idiot, and I don't think I'm supposed to call somebody an idiot, but whoever it was that did the swatting hoax phone call
Yeah,
about an
dumb.
active shooter in today's culture.
Dumb.
One, they need to be put in jail. I don't
Well,
care
they
if
need
it's
to
a
be punished,
15-year-old.
for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a kid or an adult. If it's an adult, they need
Oh.
to go to jail. If it's a kid, there needs to be some major consequences. But at the end of the day, yesterday across the state of Alabama, I got a call. I was at the P&P Produce down there and getting some pecans. And I got a text that said, active shooter at Hillcrest High.
Yep.
And I don't have a student at Hillcrest High, but I have some really close friends that have students at Hillcrest High. And my stomach dropped
Yep.
and got nauseous, right? And I'm sitting there, everything in me wanted to go to Northside
Sure.
and check my kids out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I mean, it was a
you wouldn't have been able to.
no, but it was that emotional, like I just
Yep.
want to grab my kids right now.
Well, better safe than sorry.
Yeah, and nobody can protect my kids like I can,
Yeah.
armed to the teeth.
Sure.
But,
yes.
but it made me want to go get my own kids.
Yep.
And I can't fathom. I did talk to the people. Obviously, I called them because not long after I got the initial text, I got the text that it was a hoax, kind of like a bomb threat.
Yeah.
And I remember those back in high school. We'd get a bomb threat, and I always had to go outside. And it was some
we
kid
never-
who got suspended or was out sick and got on his mom's rotary phone and dialed in a bomb.
We never had a bomb threat.
You never had a bomb threat?
We had some gang issues, but that was about it.
Well, we just would have stupid,
Yeah.
But this was, in today's world, it's called swatting.
Sure.
When you call in a false police and
You're
you
so
get
hip.
the full
Yep.
force of the law enforcement. And this, of course, especially after Uvalde, is going to create action
Yep.
on behalf of law enforcement.
Absolutely.
And they did. I mean, from everything I heard, it was overwhelming response and quick.
Yes.
But even to the schools that were not part of that, they posted law enforcement
Sure.
around. Your wife is an administrator at one of our large local schools. Tell me thought process as a spouse, when you hear something like an active shooter, what goes through your head? And then can you give us some perspective of talking to your wife about yesterday? Without
Well,
divulging anything
I
she
get
might have.
usually I get like the insider text from her going, "There's this out. We're under lockdown," before like any of the text or any of those other things happen. So usually I know that she's okay. So for me, it's peaceful because I get to text my wife. But it does make me go, kind of like you, do I need to go get my kids? So, with
Do your
her,
kids have a cell phone?
Paisley does. Quinn does not.
So I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they said that they got a text from their child. They said, "Dad, I'm scared. Come get me."
Oh yeah, I'd be there in a heartbeat.
As a father, that's the one that I think made my stomach really just like I wanted to throw up.
Sure.
I was like, "Oh my gosh."
Well, I got to talk to one of our good friends who went and picked up his daughter who was at Hillcrest, and it was also comforting to know the amount of dads that showed up and going, and to his statement, he went, if there was an active shooter, the amount of ammo and guns that I'm sure were packed in all of those vehicles
Every truck
ready to
that
go.
rolled in there was a
that I
small
went,
army.
You know, there's a small army ready to take action if necessary.
See, I don't
And
feel
so-
like I watched that Uvalde stuff and some parents were wanting to go in there and the cops wouldn't let them. I don't feel like that would be.
I don't know if that would be.
Um,
I can't. The people I know, I don't know if that would be they would have to physically be stopped, I feel like.
I do too, but it was just such a gut wrenching, and they my understanding from some teachers is that they went through and told all the schools to make
Yep.
sure your doors are closed, make sure even the ones that didn't have the threat to just go make sure
Well,
that
that
this
was-
is.
Like Claire's biggest thing was, they got the notification and all of those things, and their information travels much faster now than it ever has.
Mhm.
So that's a positive. But from her just going, all of a sudden she has to start thinking, I need to check all the doors, and if some classes are at recess and outside, or they're in the gym, and all of those things. So for her, it's going through all those things in her brain to make sure that, again, like we've said in the past, the number one goal is to make sure those children are safe when they're in a safe environment. And I think they acted upon and moved quickly and were able to, within a few minutes.
Yeah, from everything I heard yesterday, our teachers, administrators, law enforcement, I mean, across the board, it made me confident that they have, that they know what to do in that situation, that they
Yeah.
react quickly and safely.
Yeah, there's not often, I don't think, there's maybe been one time in the entire time I've been working in ministry that I thought this could end in physical harm for me. And I can't imagine that as Claire as a teacher has had to go through that a few times. And so,
It's such a fallen, crazy world that you think about part of, because I remember in school living here in Alabama, you're in Tornado Alley.
oh yeah.
But we used to do tornado drills and
Yep.
fire drills. I think
Sure.
they still do fire drills where everybody goes outside and all that. But tornado drills, back in the day, you'd grab a textbook and
Yep.
you'd go sit in the hallway, put your knees up and textbook over your head.
Oh yeah.
And you would get beat if you talked.
Yeah, I
that's-
remember those. We were at the very end of Tornado Alley where I was. And so, yeah, we had the same thing.
So we grew up in tornado drills. Now they have lockdown drills.
Sure.
What kind of world do we live in? One, that somebody could fathom walking into an elementary school or
Oh,
a
for
middle
sure.
school, high school, any of them, a school with kids, unarmed, non-threatening, like
Yeah.
the most innocent, and be able to look at them and pull a trigger
Sure.
is a level of evil that I think we often don't realize. But on the flip side of that, I go, man, those teachers.
Oh, yeah.
That's part of their day-to-day life now. And administrators, that's their day-to-day life, is to make sure doors are shut and make sure, I got frustrated during COVID when they made you ring the buzzer.
Yep.
And I'm like, I just want to walk in the office and hand you what I got. Empathy, you got, all that. And I would just roll my eyes at it. Now I go, don't let anybody
Yeah,
in,
it
and
makes
have a
sense.
double lock door.
Sure.
You think teachers ought to carry?
I think I guess this is probably the most far right stance I have, but I think if you want to carry, you should be allowed to. Obviously, there are places, post offices and things like that, federal buildings. Do I think John P. Public should be able to carry in the building. Tough one for me.
Do you think
But
teachers should carry? Now, I don't think anybody ought to be able to walk into a school with a gun, even carrying.
I think if the teacher wants to carry and they can have the proper safety devices, then yes.
Sure. In
Yeah.
a locked desk or locked purse.
Well, I think it's got to
something.
be, some biometric that's only to them. That I don't think they can put a code. You can't have a code. It's got to be to your fingerprint.
Yeah.
Some way to get.
That's an interesting idea.
And so you just go. It can't. That way, even if a kid somehow guesses the code's 1942, you just go. They can't get in.
It's a soft target, and people know that they don't carry. If you didn't know who had a gun,
Right.
I think just the thought, because this is what most people who do that kind of cowardly attack, you watch the second one returns fire, they typically bolt and run because they realize it's not a freaking Xbox game.
Sure.
But if they knew it wasn't a soft target,
Yeah.
and you don't know who's going to shoot back, and you don't know that's a whole different perspective.
I worked prior to ministry, I worked for a company, and we had, as a private company, and we had posted on the doors, people were allowed to carry, enter at your own risk.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I never felt unsafe there.
Well, and that's what I think, just the perspective of knowing that, burglars don't go into homes with dogs that are barking. Why? Because you don't know what kind of dog. You don't know where that dog's going to eat you up. You don't know. There's a level of psychological protection.
Sure.
Having a dog, like my dog.
Yeah.
She barks like a Rottweiler.
Yeah.
And she'll lick you to death. But
sure, that's my dog.
You hear that bark and you go,
Yeah. I mean, there's also the argument for posting veterans and retired police force, but I just don't. From a kid's perspective, I don't know if it's the best thing for my kid to see an armed whoever at the front of the school like that. I don't feel like that sends the correct message either. But I don't know, if a teacher wants to carry and they can do the proper safety in their school, I don't understand why not. Or even if you had to say, it had to be on your persons at all times, and it has to be in a caliber that's not going to go through the assailant into a kid.
Yeah, you're not going to have like an armor piercing,
right?
Or even
you're not going to stack it in the way people love to stack them and go, here's whatever my security round and then a bull nose. And I'm going to hit the guy there to put a hole in him, and that way I can shoot through him. But you go, and I think any county would easily offer training and all of those to help them make the hard decisions that they would have to make if they had to pull their weapon.
Well, you could have caliber rounds like the air marshals have to use. I mean, if they have to shoot in a plane, you don't want it to go through the plane and depressurize it. It's more of a disintegrating round on contact.
Well, and there's a reason I carry a 380 at church.
You carry a chair. I lost all my guns, so they all went overboard.
I'll happily let people know that I carry.
Well, and that's what I think with our church. Again, it's that psychological. I mean, we have a security team, and
absolutely.
they're all armed, but there's that psychological. I've told Cassie, I said, we ever have an active shooter lay down, the amount of rounds that go flying through, I would be curious how many guns are in purses and on hips in our congregation. If you said the average attendance was 400, I bet you 300 of them.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I would not here. In Texas, the same way.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everywhere.
At least I would go. Yep.
But we also have a lot of military law enforcement, guys who hunt and like guns. But I was curious about the perception of a husband whose wife is in there. You get that call, says there's an active shooter.
Well, Claire has her carry license.
But what do you think if you get that call? Like you saw that go out yesterday. Sure. What was your first thought?
Well, my first thought is Claire okay? Mm-hmm. And then I'm not to get to her school. I go if it is an active, and to get to the high school if you're an active shooter, you have to be going down there to get to her school, so there's no, like, you know,
Accidental, I'm just going to wander in as
you're not going to wander in. And so, you know, there's some peace in knowing that. And then I'm across the street from Quinn's school, so if I need to shoot somebody, I guess I'll have to shoot somebody.
I mean, if somebody was going to go up to my kid's school, it's like you got to drive out to Mississippi, so you're
Right.
talking a full tank of gas, and you hang a
Yeah.
left and at Mississippi line.
Yeah.
You know, it's a
Well, and I just go
country school.
Most of the time, it doesn't bother me, I would say, because I know she can take care of herself, and I probably know more about the school than that I can't divulge. That makes me go, they're going to be okay.
They're going to be all right.
And it makes me think most of the schools in Alabama have.
Protection in place that we don't know about.
Correct.
Well, the fact that I heard
Whether
that
it's
the
in their
PD
car,
was there
yeah.
within minutes
Yeah.
of, you know, and usually when I drive by those schools where your wife works, there's usually PD. I see cars
Sure.
out and about around there. It's
Yep.
pretty heavily, like I'm sure they patrol. So, and I'm sure they've all got safety measures in place that we don't know about, which we should know about, because then the shooter
Well,
doesn't
that's
know
why
about
we
them.
don't want to, like, that's one of the hardest things that I'd see is for me, watching them go to Hillcrest, I went, can you gauge response times now in that? And then can you go, oh, they showed up at this school, but not at this one as quickly. And it
That
makes
was
me
a
think,
thought of mine. Was this some kind of test run to see?
is this something more sophisticated, or is this a stupid TikTok challenge?
And that's what I heard. Is this some TikTok challenge where you get points?
Yeah, and they had, you know, the high school went through the same thing when Claire was still teaching there, and that they would steal, you know, one of hair dryers or not hand dryers off the walls and things, and you know how much damage can you cause, and it's a different world, and
I want to go back to the days when you were out in the bed of pickup trucks.
well, I'm not to say that I didn't.
I had a shotgun in the gun rack
well-
of my truck pulling into school.
You know, as a kid, we were stupid. I used to go to the restaurants and steal the little realtor boxes, you know, that hold the little magazines. I had like 10 of them in my room, and I was like, I did similar things, but fortunately I didn't have social media.
Yeah,
At
I
that
didn't.
time,
I
but-
don't know about
Yeah,
that.
I don't
didn't
know.
do anything wrong when I was a child, so
Yeah, I believe
I
it.
was the good kid.
You were also teaching in the temple at 12. Yes.
Yeah, at
gotcha.
least at
Yep.
least 12.
For sure.
Yeah.
Everyone was amazed by your knowledge.
By my knowledge and holiness of
I believe
a
it.
teenager. Yeah,
I believe it.
We done. I want to circle back to that next
Sure.
week of how do we keep our kids safe in a world going crazy. Churches, schools, you know,
Well, yeah.
what's the answer?
It's funny that you say that because I had a conversation with a guy yesterday about should or should he not let his son at the age of 8 carry a pocket knife.
We're out of
No,
time.
but-
Talk about that next week. Pocket knives and keeping our kids safe in a world going crazy. Thanks for tuning in, and same time next week.
Same time next week.
Yep, and
All
then we'll have Christmas right after next week. So
That's true.
we'll have some more really engaging Christmas questions by next week.
I know. We're almost out.
Bye, buddy.